This portion of the CU podcast is brought to you by Munk Pack. Munk Pack offers low-sugar, keto-friendly bars which are plant-based, gluten-free, and non-GMO. They're the perfect snack for anyone who's trying to eat better or cut back on sugar and carbs without sacrificing taste. Munk Pack keto granola bars and nut and seed bars contain 1 gram of sugar or less, 2 to 3 grams of net carbs, and each bar contains 150 calories or less.
Munk Pack have an amazing chewy texture and come in delicious flavors like sea salt dark chocolate, coconut cocoa chip, and caramel sea salt. My favorite is easy, the coconut cocoa chip. I love anything cocoa and coconut. These are really like chewy and satisfying, like the granola bars you remember from your youth.
Sure, I enjoyed the nut and seed bar. Speaking of coconut, the coconut almond dark chocolate is delicious, but my absolute favorite is the peanut butter dark chocolate, and they're good for snacks or for a dessert. You don't feel guilty eating these. They're delicious.
You can shop online and you can avoid another trip to the grocery store and have Munk Pack delivered right to your door. These bars are not just for people eating keto. They are a great snack for anyone looking to reduce their sugar intake while still enjoying delicious, flavorful snacks. These make a great midnight snack. I usually wake up at like midnight or 1. I don't feel so bad about having one of these in the middle of the night. They contain real ingredients that are delicious and nutritious for your whole family. And in addition to being keto friendly, the bars are also gluten-free, plant-based, and non-GMO. There's no sugar alcohols, soy, or artificial flavors.
Get 20% off your first purchase of any Munk Pack product by visiting monkpack.com and entering our code CU Podcast at checkout, or just click the link in the description down below to get 20% off. Munk Pack is so confident in their product that it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll exchange your product or refund your money, whichever you prefer. So go get some yummy, healthy bars. Go to monkpack.com and use our code CU Podcast to get 20% off, or click the link in the description below. We have voicemails, Ian.
We do.
You go to anchor.fm/the CU Podcast. You leave us a voicemail. You keep it short and sweet, and I will love you forever. I love you forever for doing that. I'll like you. There's the first one.
I'll like you for a while.
Right.
Hey guys, Andrew from Quebec, Canada here. Have you guys ever read the Nintendo Power comics, the Mario and the Zelda one?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then the Star Fox one, that was the Nintendo Power issues. I believe they compiled them and did maybe a trade paperback.
There are trades. Vonnie's got them. I've never read them before, but no, they definitely made trades of them.
When my father forced me to throw out my issues, before I did that, I would cut them out. I still have the cutout ones. It's kind of sad. I have just the cutout.
Oh, sure.
I remember really enjoying the Mario one a lot. Because for the humor,
yeah,
and how weird it was.
No, Vonnie really likes them, and I've meant to read them. I just never have gotten around to it.
And there was a Link to the Past one. I did the Star Fox one, all in like the early '90s. They did that one.
Pat, Ian, this is Matt from Rochester, New York again. Going to be serious here for a minute. Just want to give another shout out to Andrew in Ukraine. I know we haven't heard from him in a while. Andrew, I hope things are going okay over there. I know it's still a dangerous situation, but we haven't had as many updates, with everything going on in the country right now. But hope everything's okay. We hope to hear from you soon. Thanks, guys. See ya.
Well, I mean, it's still a war.
Yeah.
It's now mostly the eastern part of it. It's getting bogged down. And I don't. This thing they're saying, from what I've read, it could last years. This is not potentially going to be a conclusion that's going to come quick.
Right. No, it's going to last a long, long time.
But hopefully Andrew's okay.
Hey, Pat and Ian, it's Noah from Jeffersonville, Ohio, and I was just wondering, I was thinking about it, what if they did a Vectrex mini console? Now, you could have like a little, just like pretty much the same size, just obviously a little lighter, have a better joystick and buttons, feel a little bit better, and they can have like options for overlays, all the games on the console. Would you think they'd have to do a really low run of them because the Vectrex is such a niche kind of thing? Or do you think that would work? How do you think they should do it? Thanks, guys. Love the podcast.
God, it had to be a handheld, right? If it's a handheld, it has can you do a handheld with a built-in vector screen easily?
Well, no, you couldn't do anything with a built-in vector screen easily. You would emulate and then I would say apply the overlays in software. And I think
they've done that in emulators on computers. Yeah,
and I think it could be fun enough. But right, I think mini consoles in general are just less popular than they were. And no, I don't think there's a big enough market for it to
The thing is,
produce it.
The form factor is all wrong for a minute. I mean, because you have.
Well, no, look at all the mini arcade cabinets that they've done. You could do it very similar to that. You could do it similar to the mini Astro City or Kaido Egret 2. You could totally do the form factor. It would just be would anyone buy it? Yeah,
it would be awkward. I think those controllers suck. The joysticks on those are terrible. People don't talk about that. How the Vectrex joysticks. I mean, we love the Vectrex. It was one of a kind, but the controllers were stinky.
Yeah.
The spring on the little metal thing, wasn't even plastic on top of that, and the buttons were like squishy. And the 4-button layout does not work. They weren't smart enough to do a 2 and 2. They did 4.
Yeah, 4.
They did the Neo Geo almost layout back 7 years before it existed. 7 years. No, I'd be down for it.
Hey, Pat and Ian, this is Farron McKenzie from Inverness in Scotland.
Hey.
And I really wanted to ask you guys if you've got any all-time favourite arcade machines that you like to play, if you guys still enjoy visiting the arcade, and what you think the future of arcades is in general. Okay, guys, keep up the good work.
Oh, yeah. I own my all-time favorite ones, Rolling Thunder. Ian owns an arcade machine with Final Fight on and other boards.
Yep. I mean, all-time favorites, probably Star Wars Arcade and Centipede, 2 Atari games. I don't ever talk about Atari, but they're both ones that are really hard to recreate properly anywhere else. So those would probably be my favorite machines.
Get the arcade one-up one with the yoke.
And then in terms of the future of arcades, I think it's maybe not like blisteringly bright, but it's certainly better than it was maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's arcades. That's kept arcades alive, and that's why machines that used to be worth $300 now worth $2,000.
Yeah,
from arcades, because they're not making any more new Simpsons arcades out there. You know, they're stuck in some people's private collections in a warehouse somewhere, but they're not pumping them out. Besides the arcade one-up ones, but no respectable arcade would use those, would they? Who knows? Next one.
Hey guys, this is Jamie from Toledo here once again. 2 questions for you. The first one. Pat, since Frank has no online presence outside of your YouTube channel, how does he feel about having online fans? And how does he react meeting them in public? Second question, when did you guys become untalented, jealous gatekeepings?
Oh.
Thank you guys. Love the podcast.
Well, I guess that's when we reported the truth about a failed console. That's when it started happening. Frank, what does Frank think? I think he's flattered. But Frank is a minor egomaniac, but he also likes the attention. So, like, he gets recognized in public a lot, which he's revealed more and more while he's working because he stands out. I don't get recognized in public, really. I do, but it's rare. It sounds like it happens to Frank more regularly.
I used to all the time, but like I would say probably around the time we were talking about the Chameleon, and since then it's tapered off.
Outside, obviously, people recognize you that came into the store, but
the store and stuff like that. But like outside in public,
like going to a restaurant, things like that.
Although Brian, the bartender at Aero Club, knows both of us.
Someone took a picture of me when I went to Seaside Heights a few weeks ago. Someone recognized me at Casino Pier. They're like, "Hey, are you Pat?" I'm like, "Yeah." So that was interesting. And then they're probably wondering what the hell you're doing here. I'm like, "Well, I'm visiting Pennsylvania. I'm here with my sister." What was the other thing? Other question about conventions. Yeah, Frank was great. He was bubbly with everyone. He's been to a couple of 2 or 3 SoCal retro gaming expos. Frank was always good. He just didn't like the time off. He didn't like the time commitment to go to the conventions. Sure. That was always a thing. Getting him, he had to take off a Friday. I gotta do a Friday.
He'd enjoy 2 hours of it, and then
Frank doesn't like traveling.
Sure.
He doesn't like getting in cars and going places. Like that's probably what it comes down to. If it was like a mile away, he would have no problem with it. That's the thing.
Right.
Next.
Hey, Pat. Hey, Ian. This is Max calling from Edison, New Jersey.
Pat,
it was a pleasure meeting you at Too Many Games, and your Q&A was a ton of fun.
Thanks, Max.
I look forward to seeing you and hopefully Ian at a future convention. My question is about the graded VHS tape, since it's still somewhat fresh. We know that graded media just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense because it takes away its intended purpose. But do you feel like graded VHS tapes make at least a little bit of sense, almost as much sense as graded sports cards?
No. This is why. With a sports card, you can see everything. I thought more and more about it and how easy it's going to be to counterfeit sealed VHS tapes. I had a conversation with someone who's actually a collector about it. They didn't seal those well to begin with. They were for rental stores, remember, for the first several years.
Right.
Maybe 10 years of VHS life. Those weren't like probably like high-end ceiling things like you see with the HC on an NES game, for example.
So some of them do have unique printing and stuff like that
Okay.
on them, which I think would make those harder to counterfeit. But
Plus, you can throw any old tape in there.
yeah,
You can't identify it from the bottom.
I'm not into like graded media in general, but I think VHS is a lot like comic books in that you get art on the front. Some people like it, and it's something movies these days are easily accessible in all sorts of other forms. So I don't really care that it's trapped in there. Just like a comic book, yes, you're taking away its intended purpose, but most of the comic books that you'd want to read that are graded, that are regularly graded, have reprints and trades and all sorts of other ways you can enjoy it. And movies are the same way. I think it's weird that we're grading VHSs, but in some weird way, even though I kind of understand the thought process, but it doesn't. It's not something I'd ever be into. I understand how they got there. Doesn't mean I understand it, but I understand how they got there.
No, again, I see counterfeiting being a bigger issue. I think it'll be easier to counterfeit the seals. I'm not even talking about the covers. I think that'll be easier too, versus like an NES game. And like I said, you can if you don't find the original tape, well, throw any tape in the bottom because they weren't marked on the bottom usually. It's a standard VHS tape. They were all about the same damn thing, every VHS tape. So someone say, "Oh, the grade on this company." Okay, yeah, sure, I get it.
Hey, Pat and Ian. This is Steve from Bethlehem. This question is mainly for Pat. Pat, as a self-described fan of Spider-Man, who would you say is the greatest Spider-Man artist of all time? And if you say it's anyone other than Todd McFarlane, you are just incorrect. Thanks, guys.
Wow, Steve. Okay. John Romita is the greatest Spider-Man artist ever. He established the quote-unquote look of a lot of the characters going forward. There was a lot of first appearances, like Kingpin. That's like iconic. You think of Kingpin, it's Romita and things like that. Todd McFarlane, not saying he's a bad artist, was not the person for Spider-Man. He drew Spider-Man like a fucking football linebacker. He made him look overly bulky and big.
Yeah.
Spider-Man is supposed to be like 5'9", 5'8", 160 pounds, like dripping wet. Spider-Man is not supposed to be that big and bulky. And how can I say this politely? He drew Mary Jane looking like a porn star. Mary Jane went from like girl next door, cute, to like, oh, looks like a porn star now. Like just like made her look like a totally different look to the character. Never liked that. Just too over the top on the details.
Yeah, not huge into it, but I do think that's partially it's McFarlane's style, but it's also that was just the 90s in general. Was beefcaking everyone up, women having like no waist, dudes having muscles on muscles on muscles. And McFarlane was a part of that as much as, people like Layfield. And I'm not saying it's good, and I agree with your statement, but what a weird time for comics.
Yeah.
And Jim Lee did good stuff, but like Jim Lee did that too.
That I did not like comics of that. It's funny because that's when the bubble came. People were buying all that shit, but like that's almost destroyed the industry when you got to by the early to mid 90s. Next one here. McFarlane's the best. Why? Because of Venom. I drew Venom.
Hey Pat. Hey Ian. Rick Pasley from Rensselaer, Indiana.
Hey Rick.
Just want to let you guys know if you're ever planning on coming to our neck of the woods, try Pizza King. It's great when it comes to pizza. It has the crumbly sausage as well as pepperoni. It's awesome, and it's thin crust. It's very awesome.
All right, sounds good to me.
I'll always try some new pizza.
As long as you're not putting fucking American cheese slices on top of it, we'll be fine. Right?
It looks okay. Looks all right.
You did the research?
Yeah, the South Bend, Indiana stuff looks good. You also got to be careful, though, because it brings up a lot of pictures of Giant Pizza King in San Diego, which is dog shit pizza.
Okay, Giant Pizza King?
Yeah, Giant Pizza King is not good.
It's called Giant Pizza King, huh?
Yeah,
I think I've heard of that one before. I'll do a few more here.
It's by Cotillas.
Oh, okay. Oh, Giant New York Pizza.
Oh, sorry. There is a Giant Pizza King, too. You're right. They're probably different.
Hi, Pat and Ian. It's Aaron from the UK again. I'm mostly a 5th and 6th console generation collector and player. A big chunk of those systems are CD-based. I just wondered what your thoughts are for the longevity of disk-based systems as they start to break down and fail, including first-party controllers. Do you think people will care about them, say, in 15 years' time to repair them or want to manufacture replacement parts? Or will they be doomed to obscurity as nostalgia wanes, or simply just be emulated for the few enthusiasts remaining? Thank you for answering our previous questions on the podcast, and long live the PlayStation 1.
So polite, Aaron. Thank you.
Yeah, I think for those generation systems, I think we've already seen it. If you pay attention to emulation and console modding, we've already seen a lot of ODs, optical drive emulators, where they go in place of the optical drive and you drop the SD card in, and you're playing basically perfect emulations of it through the system on your TV. Interesting question about controllers, though, because I've noticed over time, I used to consider, when I first started working at Luna, I considered the PlayStation and PlayStation 2 controllers to be pretty reliable.
Okay.
No, they're not. I mean, not anymore. They all started. It's like that. People always worry about planned obsolescence because when things start breaking, it all seems to happen at once. But it was probably 2017 where we started noticing a lot of broken and bad PS2 and PlayStation 1
the half-life on rubbers and plastic started to go on them?
Yeah, the shoulder buttons started to get weird. Things started breaking. Control sticks started to peel or spin. And I don't think people are going to bother repairing them, honestly.
They probably can, but there's aftermarket ones for almost all these consoles.
Third-party controllers have increased in quality tenfold in the past 2 decades.
Retrobit does a ton of good ones.
There used to be all sorts of shitty fucking controllers out there, and now, you can get your retro bits, and even, I know people don't want to hear it, even some, not all, of some of the Hyperkins were pretty decent replacements too. Their N64 cadet pad, by the time they got that was a pretty decent replacement. So, I think the quality of replacement controllers, especially those older ones that use cheaper technology, I think they're just going to get better.
So you think that more of the optical drives with the SD cards for stuff like Dreamcast and PlayStation 1?
I think for people who want to do physical, as the disc prices start to go up, obviously collectors are going to be collectors, but people who just want to play this shit, if I cared, I would have gone to an ODE as soon as they came out, instead of worrying about discs.
It's not the worst thing in the world to replace some mechanics on the disc systems in terms of the drives or the lasers. It's just a pain in the ass.
Well, you just can't getting good quality ones. I mean, Sega Saturn laser lens repairs at Luna were like 50-50. He finally fixed Vonnie's. He almost gave up. He had to go through 2 lenses before he got one in there that worked.
They're just sourced.
There's just like the quality parts for that sort of stuff doesn't seem to really exist anymore. And if it does, I'm not saying it can't, but if it does, I'm unaware of it. And I think a lot of people they've been like, instead of making these specific laser lenses, this ODE option is simpler.
We'll have to 3D print them. Or do something, or do like.
But I think a lot of ODEs are like put into 3D printed shells, basically.
But I mean, like for like lenses, there ought to be something out there that does like a run. We want to do a run of these lenses, if there's no manufacturer anymore, potentially. I don't know. I do a few more here.
Hey Pat, hey Ian, it's Rich again from Cincinnati. Just want to say, hey, got a question for you. Quick question. While growing up, what was the most excited you were for a new system, and which system did you get your very, very first console, whether it be Christmas, birthday? Would like to hear that. And
okay, which one?
For me, the system I was most excited to get was a Dreamcast, and I bought that with my own money. I think that was probably my first system that I purchased. Well, no, I bought portables with my own money. Actually, I bought a Genesis with my own money. My brother and I did. But the Dreamcast, I was a senior in high school. I was really into games. I loved Sega stuff. I had done the preview with Hollywood Video the month before where I could rent the Dreamcast, and I got Sonic Adventure, and I was fucking pumped to get my Dreamcast. That's probably the most excited I've ever been for a system.
The NES was like, I asked my father for it like every day for Christmas that fall of '87. I mean, I have that picture I put in my video from last year and a half ago, me holding it. My dad found the picture. Like that's the happiest I probably was ever. I hate to say it. I was excited about the Super Nintendo as well, getting that. But it's between, at least for me, when I was 7 versus 11. The magic sort of fades a little bit, at least in my mind, from that. That's a big sort of gap there in terms of how you are as a kid, at least to me.
I was always excited when I knew I was getting a console, but I just remember getting swept up in the Dreamcast stuff and being really excited about it. I mean, obviously, my brother and I were fucking thrilled when we took our raking money and went and bought our Genesis. When I got the NES, I don't think I was super well aware of what the NES was. Because I think it was like 87... It was 87 or 88, but kids weren't talking about it in school yet.
You should have been in Indiana in 86 in spring on Stranger Things. You'd be talking about it every day with your friends.
Get over it.
People were trying to judge me. Oh, they were tech kids ahead of the time. No, it's just bad writing. And then someone said the Duffer Brothers they're from the U.S., not from Europe. I was like, oh, okay. Then I don't know where I saw that. Then they should have known better.
Hey, Pat. Hey, Ian. This is Brian. Pat, I was at Too Many Games this past weekend. I was the guy wearing the shirt with a picture of you and I from Too Many Games 2017 on it. Just wanted to ask you both, Pat and Ian, who your favorite Pokemon was. Thanks for everything.
Probably Meowth or Sandshrew. I always say Sandshrew, but I love Meowth as well.
I know about 5 Pokemon, and my favorite is the one I won at Seaside, Poliwhirl.
Oh, Poliwhirls are great.
I don't know, is that a good or bad one?
Yeah, it's a good one.
They're on the right side of things?
I think that was like the original Pokemon, too. Actually, I think like when the designer started making the designs, I think it was the first one he drew.
Well, really?
I believe so.
Well, there you go. And it was the first one I won at the Crane Machine back in like 98, when it was still branded, basically branded.
It's either the first one he drew or it's his favorite.
It's a bipedal amphibian Pokemon with a spherical body. Is there an attack? It makes you like dizzy?
Sure.
Is that what happens?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's just funny. God, I don't have that plush Poliwhirl. I need a plush Poliwhirl. I think I should buy one. I have a Bulbasaur. You see the Bulbasaur out there?
Mm-hmm.
I won that at Seaside as well. I won that. And the Crane. It's a lot harder to win a Crane game than it used to. It used to be skill-based. It used to be you picked it up, if you got to the top, started moving, you were good. Now it just drops it randomly. It just drops it randomly. It just teases you. Crane teases. Claw tease. Sorry. All right.